Daga.
Hi, Bett.
I'm so excited about this topic that we're talking about grounding.
I know. It's so basic, and yet it never gets old. It never gets old.
Well, for me, it's new because I didn't even realize about it until, why don't we start with the story? I was in Mexico in December of 2021, and I saw an Ayurvedic person, I will not explain what that is. People can Google it. And she told me that I need to work on grounding.
Mhm.
And I asked her, like, well, why, like, what does that mean? And she's like, you are so full of ideas and excitement and passion, and you're jumping from like random thought to another thought. And grounding is going to help you become focused. So she told me her prescription was to do yoga nidra for 20 minutes a day, like 5 days a week.
Mhm.
And I really took that seriously. And I did that for several months, and it really helped me. So that's just, I feel like I'm only new to the realization of grounding. What about your side?
Right. Well, grounding came to me actually in therapy and in yoga. There's a lot of many people talk about grounding in yoga practice or when we practice meditation, if anybody practices meditation, but also in therapy. And I, at first, some time ago, I just thought, oh, maybe it's like one of those new agey terms that doesn't really mean anything, and people just say it, and you don't really know practically what it is. Um, but then I understood that in the moments of distress and in the moments when I really go into my mind and I worry and I think about what ifs and I just kind of dissociate from the present moment, what I need to do is to ground myself. And then I understood really in my body what it means when I'm not grounded. So it kind of came also from the of not from the state of not being grounded, but because I observed how uncomfortable I felt with myself. So in your case, and it's a great example that in your case it was the question of having all the ideas and also being very much up in the air, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, it was also being very much up there, um, just worrying and not being in the present moment.
Mm-hmm. Something I found is with my cats. So when my cats are scared, like I like to take my cats for a walk. So when I take my cats outside, there's cars, there's, people walking, and they just get terrified. But if I bring them near a plant and they start sniffing it, they come into their senses and they start getting really relaxed and happy. So I think that there's some magic here that we need to be aware of, that if we can get into our senses and feel. And I think some of the easiest things to do is just feel the earth, like feel the gravity. And so something I do in the beginning of my yoga classes is often, do you feel gravity feeling pulling you down, which is just, that's the root of grounding.
Right. I agree absolutely. I noticed also with myself and with my clients that if we don't allow ourselves to feel the gravity, we build up more tension because we kind of tense our muscles. It's like as if we were trying to get up from the earth,
Mm.
and it affects the way we think even. And I think what is very useful is to maybe quote the definition of grounding or what it does to us. So
Please.
when I check the Cambridge Dictionary, it says someone who is grounded makes good decisions and does not say or do stupid things.
That's
And I did it.
hysterical.
I think it's brilliant, and I would never think that. Oh, that would be the definition of grounding. So like what you say, it's really being connected to gravity. It's really simple and really basic. And at the same time, this is how it affects us. So I
Mhm.
think this is
I
something
love
to
it.
consider, right?
I love it. So I just finished the Expanse series books, sci-fi. Do you know about it?
No?
No, it's about Earthers. Humans have moved into the stars and they live on spaceships and other planets and things. But there's this, I'm always thinking about how lucky we are to live on Earth. Like we were created or evolved, whatever you want to believe, to live on this planet with the exact gravity. And that's helps our system be rooted, and all of our system works better with the gravity. And they're having challenges with, NASA and bone density. So really feeling the gravity, we're lucky because one day we're going to all live on some space station somewhere. We're not going to have this beautiful gravity. So being able to feel it, and it's going to help us make wiser decisions. So some future generations going to have to deal with that issue, but today we have gravity and we can feel it. So a few things from the yoga perspective I would love to share is that if someone's not feeling grounded, their whole bottom half of their body, okay? So the root chakra is in between the sits bones, the spine, the end of the spine, the tailbone area. That is a place that Muladhara is what we call it. And it is a place that anchors us to the ground, but the legs are extensions of that. So what I work with my students on is toe health. Toe health. So if our toes are stiff and brittle, we can feel unbalanced. If our feet are weak and our arches are flat, we can feel unbalanced. So I think that just keeping our toes and our feet strong and our ankles and working on squats and all of the leg muscles, working on those leg muscles, keeping them strong and agile can help us be grounded as we walk through life. We feel more confident if our legs are not wiggling and wobbling. So that's something that I specifically work on with my students to help them feel grounded.
Mhm. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And you mentioned being unbalanced,
Mhm.
and this feeling of being unbalanced, when we feel unbalanced in our body, it really does affect how we feel emotionally. So when we allow ourselves to feel balanced and work on that in our body, it does give us the strength and the sense of balance for our emotions as well. It's this embodied state. It's not coming from the head itself and just like telling ourselves, oh, this is not how what we should or shouldn't do or feel, but it really does come from how we feel.
Mhm.
So your example is great. You mentioned before going for a walk, like you take your cats for a walk, but we can take ourselves for a walk. And even better if it's a walk barefoot,
Mhm.
and even better if we can just walk on the ground, right, or on the grass, or on the beach, or even in the forest. I remember my barefoot walking in the first lockdown was one of the things that really kept me sane. In the place that I lived at that time, there was a little forest outside of my house, and even though there were pine trees and pine cones, and it was a forest, and stones and rocks and etc., I just loved having a 20-minute walk, whether it was raining or not. Luckily, where I live, it was quite warm, so I could just walk barefoot and it would just bring me to the present moment. There was no worry. I wasn't thinking about what is going to happen, what this whole thing mean. Um, like it really helped me to be calmer, more balanced emotionally, and really feel myself
Mhm.
in my
This
body.
is amazing. I think that feeling the ground is so special and something we just don't do. We have these thick shoes with thick pads on the bottom, and that's not the way we were meant to walk. We were meant to, so I love Vivo Barefoot shoes. This is
Mhm.
a plug that we're not sponsored by them, but we should be. But have you heard of it? Vivo
No?
Barefoot, their sole is on the shoe is very, very thin. It's
Hmm.
almost like barefoot shoes. And yeah,
Are they shaped as a foot?
no,
No.
no, I have those ones too, and I've worn those many years, but those are a little more weird looking. My
Mhm.
father wears those all the time, actually. But yeah, those Vivo Barefoot shoes really help you feel the ground,
Mhm.
and they give a little bit of cushion. But I think that's the thing, it's like as close as the ground we can be, and also checking with our senses. So when
Mhm.
you're out in the forest or you're taking yourself on a walk, can you check in with like, what are you seeing? What's
Mhm.
not going on in your head, or don't listen to a podcast or music.
Mhm.
Just like look, see, and then hear. What are the sounds? Smell. What are you smelling? Feel the sensation on the skin. This is another thing I do with my yoga students at the beginning of class is like, can you feel the sensation of the air on your skin? Like
Mhm.
it's something that we have to take the time to tap into.
Mhm. Yeah. That's fantastic. Everything that you're describing is like it resonates with me a lot. Um, but I'd like us to maybe mention what happens if we, or how can we tell that we are ungrounded? How can we tell
I
that?
was literally just going to say that we should do that. So, like
Yeah,
a detection system, right? So, how can you
right.
check? Because probably every morning when we wake up, we might be ungrounded. At least I am. So, things that make me realize I'm ungrounded is if I have 20 items on my to-do list and I feel like all of them are number one priority. That immediately says, oh boy, I need to meditate. What about
Mhm.
you, Daga?
That happens to me very often when I forget things or I don't know where I'm going or I don't know, like when I feel there's some kind of disconnection from myself in this moment, like what am I supposed to do? Why am I carrying this thing in my hand? Where am I really going? All those moments when I feel disconnected from my task in the moment, but also from other people and from myself. Like I'm not even realizing that I don't know, I'm uncomfortable or I'm missing something or I didn't put my jacket on or right. So
Mm-hmm.
all those moments when I feel the disconnection and the disconnection from other people, which might look like being reactive, like being very reactive instead of being, well, responding, let's say, to what is going on around me and what is happening in other people's life.
Mm-hmm.
So the disconnection, I would say, both in a physical level. So there's like a disconnection between my head and how I feel in my body, as if my body wasn't here in the room, and from the outside world,
Mm-hmm.
not seeing the things, the reality as it is.
That's yeah, I totally feel that from you. And I also feel like overwhelmed. For me, overwhelm is one of the number one signs that I am ungrounded, because I will really think that the 20 things on my mind are all the same level of importance. And I will just be like, I can't do it. It's too much. There's
Mhm.
just no way. I can't handle it. And after I meditate and sort of things calm down, I can reconnect with the earth and get grounded.
Mhm.
Then I realize like though none of those things were important and I need to do this other thing. That's like really what happens. And I just feel so
Mhm.
much calmer and happier. And just I
Mhm.
know everything's going to be okay. I'm going to be able to get through this day.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, go
Anything
on.
else?
Well, I'd like to share maybe a couple of more techniques that I
Great.
use
Wonderful.
to ground, which and also one more thing because maybe people who listen to us or who watch us, they think that grounding only happens when we have our feet on the ground and we have to be, on the ground. What happens with the people who, I don't know, live on a 10th or 20th floor, or
Or
you're on
flying.
a plane.
Oh my gosh, Jing.
Or even in a car, right? And you're driving and you're moving and on a bike. So it is connection to gravity and to Earth. We feel it anywhere. We feel gravity even on the airplane, right? We're not levitating. And I would like to stress again what you said before, connection to our senses. So we are focusing on being connected to our internal world and the external world, what happens for us in our body, noticing our thoughts as well, and noticing the surroundings, and really actually even looking around to have the spatial awareness of like, oh, where am I? What is the time of the day? What is the day? Like really anchoring ourselves in the present moment with all the meanings and aspects of that expression. Yeah, so even on the plane, we can ground ourselves and feel like, oh, I feel my weight and I'm sitting on this chair and it's supporting me and my feet are on the floor. And that's it.
It's
So
beautiful.
connecting to the senses, breathing is another.
We didn't even mention breathing yet.
We didn't mention, and it's like almost number one, right? And breathing we can use, well, on the car or in a meeting. So in a space that feels like, oh, I can't do anything, like just have a walk, or maybe I'm restricted by or limited by the space, or I'm limited by the circumstances, and I feel I'm ungrounded in a meeting at work even, right? And then taking a few deep breaths and really feeling the breath and feeling it in our belly, and how it enters, how it leaves our body, even if it's just a couple of breaths. It really helps.
That's amazing. As a yoga teacher, I can't even believe I didn't mention breathing. Yeah. And maybe I'll just describe what Yoga Nidra is. Yoga Nidra is a guided shavasana. So you lay on the ground and you get into your Yoga Nidra nest, which is lots of blankets and pillows, and you feel really safe. And then there's a script, and there's some really good ones. Ali Boudreau is my favorite YouTuber who does Yoga Nidra. So I'll put her link. And she does she's doing a chakra series. So she has a chakra series where every different Yoga Nidra is about a different chakra.
Amazing.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Anything else?
Well, I guess we've covered the most of it.
All right.
Just to add that being grounded equals being present and open in the present moment, right? Being present and open.
Yeah.
Non-judgmental to what is happening to us. So it really gives us that space and that perspective of how do we relate now to ourselves, to the world. And so it really brings a lot of calm into our life.
I think of the word as focused and ready to tackle whatever's happening. So yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, Daga, this was a really fun conversation, but I'm wondering what our listeners think about this. Maybe they can add their comments into the channel and in the comments section. And if you have ideas for other topics for us to talk about, please put them in there. Click like, subscribe, and share with a friend who may enjoy this conversation or may really need it.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And thank you, Bett. Another great conversation.
Thank you, Daga.